Ethan Cole had everything the city admired: a glass-walled penthouse, a garage lined with sleek cars, and the kind of easy charisma that made boardrooms bend. Yet one cold January morning, as dawn light fractured through his high-rise windows, he found something that stopped him mid-step. His new nanny, a woman he barely knew, was curled up asleep on the hardwood floor outside his daughter's room. No blanket, no pillow, just her coat bunched beneath her cheek and her hand still resting on the door as if she'd tried to stay awake guarding the little girl. For a man who had built his empire on control and appearances, the sight was almost unbearable. Who was she really, and what had driven her to this? Her name was Lila. She was 29, a widow for almost a year, and she carried hardship in every fold of her body. Her brown hair, though naturally thick and beautiful, hung in unbrushed strands that clung to her tired face. Her jeans were worn thin at the knees, the hem frayed, and her sneakers had duct tape wrapped around the soles. She always moved with a careful grace, as if afraid of taking up too much space in a world that already wanted her gone. Ethan had hired her in a hurry, desperate for help with his 5-year-old daughter Ava, who had grown quieter since her mother's sudden passing. He hadn't asked questions about Lila's life, until now. When Lila stirred awake and sat up, her eyes wide in embarrassment, Ethan noticed the way her lips trembled before she managed a nervous smile. "I didn't mean to fall asleep. Ava had a nightmare, and I didn't want her to wake up alone." She brushed her hair back quickly, cheeks flushed. "You could have used the guest room," Ethan said, softer than he expected his voice to sound. She shook her head, fidgeting with her sleeves. "I didn't want to impose." Later that day, curiosity followed him like a shadow. On her break, Lila left the building quickly, and something made him trail behind at a distance. She boarded a bus, fishing coins from a duct-taped wallet. At a thrift store, she sorted through racks, not for herself, but for a child. Tiny coats, shoes a size too big. He realized then that she had a son. That evening, when he finally asked, her throat tightened. "His name's Noah. He's 7. He stays with my neighbor while I work." She hesitated. "It's just been hard since my husband passed." Ethan listened, his chest tightening. He had known loss, his wife gone in a car crash 2 years ago. But he had money, staff, stability. Lila had nothing but resilience. 2 days later came the rehook moment he hadn't expected. Returning home early from a meeting, Ethan found Lila kneeling in his kitchen, Ava in her lap, both laughing over a spilled bowl of cereal. Yet on the counter, he saw Lila's bag gaping open. Inside, a near-empty lunchbox with only half a sandwich wrapped in foil, clearly meant for her son. And tucked under that, an overdue utility bill, edges curling from being folded too many times. The contrast burned in his mind, his fridge overflowing with imported cheeses. Her fridge, he imagined, nearly empty. That night, Ethan couldn't shake the thought. He remembered the eviction notice he had once seen curling on a tenant's door back in his early real estate days, and the look in the mother's eyes then. He thought of Lila's quiet dignity, how she never asked for help. A storm rolled over the city a few nights later. Rain lashed against the penthouse windows as thunder cracked. Ava was restless, and Lila stayed by her bedside humming softly, her tired voice somehow steady. When Ethan walked past, he saw again that same selflessness, her back straight, though her body looked ready to collapse. Something in him shifted. After Ava finally drifted to sleep, he caught Lila lingering near the hallway, rubbing her temples. "Do you ever get a night to yourself?" he asked gently. She gave a small, almost bitter laugh. "Nights are for laundry, and bills, and worrying." Her eyes darted away, and her hands fidgeted with the strap of her worn-out bag. He wanted to say more, but words failed. Instead, he offered coffee. They sat in the dim kitchen, steam rising between them. She told him pieces of her story, the shelter lines after her husband's funeral, the weak coffee in paper cups, counting coins at the self-checkout while Noah tugged at her sleeve asking for milk. The more she spoke, the heavier Ethan's chest grew. His world of polished shoes and tailored suits had never brushed against this kind of exhaustion. Yet here she was, strong in her brokenness. Just as he began to wonder how to help without shaming her, Ava's small voice interrupted from the hall. "Daddy? Why is Miss Lila sad?" Lila's eyes filled instantly, and she excused herself, rushing to the guest bathroom. Ethan stood frozen, caught between his daughter's innocence and the raw truth he had just witnessed. He realized then that his decision, whatever it would be, could change more than just one life. Ethan found himself staring at the closed bathroom door long after Lila had slipped inside. Ava's question lingered in the air, simple yet piercing, as though the child had seen through all the layers of pride and resilience that Lila wore like armor. He wanted to knock, to tell her she wasn't alone, but he knew she wouldn't want pity. Pride like hers didn't bend easily, so he waited. When she finally emerged, her eyes were rimmed red, but her smile was practiced. She murmured something about finishing the laundry and slipped past him with her usual grace. But that night Ethan made a choice. He wouldn't let her sink further into quiet suffering. The next morning he asked Ava if she wanted to meet Noah. The little girl's eyes brightened at the idea of another child in the apartment. When Ethan suggested it to Lila, she hesitated, her fingers tightening around her bag strap. "I don't want to mix my problems with work. I'm grateful for this job." "That's enough," but Ethan shook his head. "No child should feel hidden. Not yours, not mine." Later that week, Noah came over. He was small for 7, his sweater stretched at the cuffs, sneakers with holes near the toes. Yet he carried himself with a stubborn pride, standing next to his mother like a shield. Ethan noticed his quick glances at the towering bookshelves, the marble counters, the polished piano in the corner, but Noah said nothing. Ava, however, broke the silence, tugging his hand. "Want to see my toys?" Her sweetness melted the boy's stiffness. Soon laughter filled the penthouse, a sound Ethan hadn't heard so freely since his wife's death. But while the children played, Ethan saw Lila retreat to the corner of the kitchen, pulling out her phone with a tight throat. Her voice was low, almost panicked. "Yes, I'll get it to you by Friday. Please, just give me 2 more days." She hung up quickly, tucking the phone away when she noticed Ethan watching. That became the second rehook, the moment Ethan realized the storm was worse than he imagined. Friday was only 2 days away. That evening he stepped onto the balcony, city lights flickering below, and wrestled with himself. Was it charity if he intervened? Would she see it as pity? He remembered her words, "I didn't want to impose." And then he remembered his daughter's words, "Why is Miss Lila sad?" The next day he acted. Instead of handing her money, which he knew she would refuse, he arranged for her landlord to receive a confidential settlement that erased her overdue rent. He stocked her fridge quietly, slipping grocery bags into her small apartment while she was at the park with the children. He even repaired Noah's backpack, replacing the duct tape with new sturdy stitching, leaving it on the kitchen chair for the boy to find. When Lila discovered the groceries that night, milk, bread, fruit, even a pack of cookies, she froze in the doorway. She pressed a hand to her lips, her eyes wide, then narrowed, suspicious. She knew Ethan had been behind it. She confronted him the next morning, her voice trembling. "Did you do this? Did you interfere with my rent?" Ethan didn't deny it. He met her gaze, steady but gentle. "I don't want gratitude. I don't want to embarrass you, but I can't stand by and watch you drown while you're busy saving everyone else." Her eyes glistened, anger and relief warring across her face. "Do you have any idea how hard it is to accept help? To feel like you can't provide for your own child?" "Yes," Ethan said quietly, surprising even himself. "I felt the same when Ava cried for her mother and I couldn't give her back. Money couldn't fix that, but kindness helped. People stepped in when I was at my lowest. Maybe it's my turn to step in for you." Lila's shoulders sagged. Her lips trembled, then softened into something fragile. "I don't know how to thank you without feeling small." "You're not small," Ethan said firmly. "You've carried more weight than anyone should. Let me carry a piece of it." For the first time since he had met her, she let out a laugh that wasn't forced. A small, genuine laugh that seemed to surprise her too. Weeks passed, and their lives quietly interwove. Noah and Ava became inseparable, filling the penthouse with crayons, pillow forts, and the messy joy of childhood. Lila began to stand taller, her worn jeans replaced slowly with clothes that fit better, though she still carried the same quiet grace. Ethan noticed she brushed her hair differently now, letting it fall in soft waves instead of hiding it in a messy knot. But what surprised him most was how his own heart began to shift. The man who once measured life in contracts and quarterly profits now found himself lingering at breakfast just to hear Noah's stories, or pausing at the kitchen doorway to watch Lila hum while washing dishes. One evening, after the children had fallen asleep in a heap of blankets and toys, Ethan and Lila sat in the living room with cups of tea. The city stretched out beyond the glass, neon lights reflecting in her eyes. She leaned back, her voice quiet. "When I fell asleep on your floor that night, I thought you'd fire me. I thought you'd see me as weak." Ethan smiled faintly. "I saw strength I'd forgotten existed." Her throat tightened. "You didn't just give us food or rent. You gave me back something I thought I lost." "What's that?" he asked. "Dignity." She swallowed hard, then added, almost in a whisper, "And hope." Ethan set his cup down, studying her face, lit softly by the glow of the city. In that moment, he realized that generosity wasn't about rescuing, it was about restoring. The moral of their story settled quietly between them. One act of kindness, given without judgment, could reroute a life. And sometimes when lives collided in unexpected ways, they didn't just survive hardship, they built something stronger together.